Kane University Government Affairs and Community Partnerships Women's History Month little podcast interview. We are happy to have you, so thank you for joining us.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course, of course. How could we do this without you? We are doing this just trying to speak to the women across the state who, one, are making an impact in the state, but also just to hear kind of how you got where you are, what made you want to be in the legislature, what made you want to be in politics, period, the things and people who got you to where you are, and words of advice that you could give to anyone, a young lady, a young man, a student, maybe not a student, someone who maybe is taking a non-traditional route in life, anything to inspire someone to get where they are. So we'll start with that, and then I do have some questions to ask you.
Oh, okay, great. Well, that was loaded.
I know.
For an opener. But no, thank you. It's always great to celebrate Women's History Month, her story. Also, as an alum of Kane, for undergrad, I was a political science major. So politics, understanding New Jersey government has always been in my DNA. I'm a Jersey girl through and through. Kane political science program had us in the New Jersey State House when I was just 19 years old as a student. We have one of the most historic state houses in the country. It's just a beautiful building. To serve as a legislator, knowing my history and growing up in the state of New Jersey, attending public university, it is always an honor, and I'm filled with awe when I walk in that building as a member of the legislature, and not just a tourist, but it's our state capital, and I'm just thankful for my experience at Kane that gave me the exposure to be at this point in my life.
Wonderful. So we actually had the opportunity yesterday to bring a group of students to the State House as a part of the NJSU Policy Day, and they had a wonderful time. So I hope to one day see some of those students in your seat, because I could see as we walked them around that they were inspired and they enjoyed the day. So with that, my first question to you is, what inspired you to run for office, and what was the moment that solidified your decision to enter politics?
So I've always been interested in politics. I understand that politics plays at the intersection of everything that we know as life as we see it, all of our freedoms, our rights, the things that we care about, the change, policy, reform, systemic, some baked in. I was a youth NAACP member, so studied what redlining meant, the desegregation of schools, growing up in an urban center, playing sports, and then traveling to other towns and seeing that, they have more parks, they have more open space, schools look different than in urban centers, as well as the recreational space, the library space. I was an inquisitive kid, so wanting to know the why, how taxpayer dollars, especially in New Jersey, support and fund our schools.
Mm-hmm.
Urban centers, unfortunately, don't have big tax ratables, if you will, to support the capacity for the people and the children that they need to educate. So we usually get the short end of the stick. So literally, when I was an undergrad at Kane, fun story, fun fact, I interned for the seat that I hold now in the 35th district. My freshman year, it was a Republican. His name was Frank Catania. And majoring in political science, I didn't quite want to go into education and teaching. So my high school advisor mentioned that I should try an internship with the legislator. And from there, I had great exposure, also received college credit to what the New Jersey legislature does, and my eyes open, like, you guys really can change laws, appropriate funds for our schools, for our communities, and have all of this power and authority. Why is no one talking about this? Why is it just a short little segment of fourth grade education on government in the three branches?
Correct.
So long story short, I've always been interested in government and what role we played. Never thought I'd be an elected official, but always knew I would have my hand in some form of advocacy. And in fact, my professional career has done just that.
Wonderful. And you know, just a little plug from little old me. I think that your public service career you have shown and shaped a lot of people's desires and goals to what a legislator can be. A little political science major has grown into this woman who is a force to be reckoned with. So
Thank you.
I tell you all the time that I'm proud of you, but I truly,
Yes.
truly am proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you share some of the biggest challenges you face as a woman running for office and how you've overcome them?
So a couple things. When we think of women in politics, there's a couple of challenges. One, I am an African American woman and proud of that, but we are in the minority. Two, fundraising is a big part of politics. Money means a lot to get your message out. When I think about all the things you can do with money, as far as feed a family, take care of your housing needs, and really eradicate some of the poverty. When we're one of the wealthiest countries in the world, it's always hard to digest. While I understand it, for women, we typically don't raise dollar for dollar with our male counterparts, let alone a non-minority male. The reason I always bring this up is because we have the same power of one vote. Right? When we're passing legislation, you need 41 votes in the Assembly, 21 votes in the Senate. Our vote holds just as much weight.
Yes.
But yet we have to compel people, change the hearts of leaders and people who have access to money, which are primarily non-minority men, to fund our campaigns. Also, as women, I mentioned all the things that are a priority, which is primarily family. We are quick to advocate, raise money for family, but when it comes to asking for money for ourselves, we tend to get shy and not want to do it. And there's a consequence for that. When someone's looking at your financial report as a representative, it's important that you show that you have money in the bank to defend against a competitor, to support your own brand and image, to get your message out. So those are the two biggest things. But I like to use it as a positive for anything that people may say is a negative. I love being an African American woman. Right? I adore it. I love all of our sass, our swag, our intelligence, our gift to walk into any room and command a space.
Yes.
Right? So knowing that, wearing our hair all different kinds of ways, look at us on this Zoom, right? In every shade of black, I do love, but it's that confidence that I carry with me, that generational confidence of knowing who I am and identity that I bring in that space. And also, we're just truth tellers. So when women walk in the room, we're not going to say, I heard, I think. No, it's going to be from a place of knowledge, because we have some truth behind us on whatever change we're seeking, that have families connected to the change we want to see happen.
Absolutely. What, as a follow-up to that question and your response, what would you say, how would you advise a female candidate to combat exactly what you just said, combating that financial, we could call it a disparity?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We can call it disparity, even though we don't like to use that word, but it's
right.
real and it still fits.
Mm-hmm.
And words have power. But I will lean on relationships. That's also a skill and a gift. People want to do business with people they know. All right. So a big part of it is, what's your circle of influence and how do you grow it? When you step into the political scene, you start with a tight circle, your nucleus. I started with my family, my 2 kids, my husband. Hey, we're running for office. My husband and I, our language of love is politics. We started running local campaigns even while I was in undergrad. We're married 26 years, now 27 years. I got to keep up. It's sort of moving along. But we believe in our community. We believe in supporting people who care about the things we care about: clean streets, safe neighborhoods, development that's healthy, parks. all of those things. So building out those relationships and taking time to do it, taking time to make the phone call or ask, and not just sending an email saying, please give me some money. You know how many solicitations we still get for funding campaigns. But politics is local. Tip O'Neill said it best. And if you don't have your local community, your local state supporting you running for office, then that's the work that has to be done to raise the funds and to combat that fear of getting your message out and supporting yourself, betting on yourself.
Absolutely. What have been some of your proudest accomplishments, during your time in the legislature?
So I've been in office since 2012, and I will say that there's not one accomplishment, but many. I'm very, very fortunate. I like to think I use my time wisely each term. I approach from a position of faith, and I can't emphasize that enough, leaving myself open to fight the battles that need to be fought for that time and season. When I came into the legislature, President Barack Obama was in, and we were fighting for the Affordable Care Act in New Jersey. Over 1 million people, adults who did not have insurance, were able to get health insurance. That was important to me as a healthcare professional as well. Access to health care, not only for mental health, but also for medical care when you needed it, because nothing like a child's able to get care, but when mom or dad was sick, they were working 2 jobs and couldn't afford a health benefits plan. That had impact. Restoring the right to vote for persons on probation and parole. That was an over 80,000 person impact who did not have the right to vote since the 18th century.
Wow.
18th century. Can I say I knew that before I entered the legislature? Absolutely not.
Right.
But it was one of those moments that was clairvoyant where you're saying, this is wrong. I'm going to carry this bag forward and work very hard to pull it across the finish line. And we were successful there. Another piece, just bringing it home, Patterson School District was controlled by the state for over 20 years, and we were not faring better. Our test scores hadn't improved. Our school board had no say in parents over the type of education that they wanted for our students. Our teachers felt demoralized. Getting local control back under my tenure in the legislature and advocating for that to empower parents, critical. Adding voice to the voiceless and empowering people is something that I'm passionate about, but knowledge that you can't take on every fight, but being intentional about the fights we take on. And lastly, I'll mention Hinchcliffe Stadium, which is where the National Negro League played. 30 years of disrepair. Students looking outside at a field that was a field of hopelessness, garbage, debris, sunken, now repaired because we had President Barack Obama designated the Great Falls as a national park in the state of New Jersey, has more tourism than a number of national parks across the country. If you haven't been to the Patterson Great Falls, please come. And now you can see Hinchcliffe Stadium, which has a museum dedicated to the National Negro League attached to it, and appropriating funds in partnership, both federal, state, county, and local. So connecting all the branches of government. Part of what political science taught me.
Correct.
To part of making sure that the relationships I have are leveraged to work intentionally for change.
Absolutely. So you touched on it a bit, but how has being a woman shaped your perspective and approach to policymaking in Trenton?
So being a woman, a couple of things. We can chew gum and walk at the same time.
We sure can.
Right? So we're able to multitask. And I like to say I'm focused when I'm doing any one task because it takes that intentionality, especially when you're working in the legislature. There's 80 members in the Assembly, all have a priority. There's a Senate with 40 members, all have their priority. Then you have a governor, executive office with their priority. It's my job to bring forth the things that I care about and explain to my colleagues why it's important.
Right.
So I do a lot of talking throughout the course of the day. Because it's necessary, and not taking for granted that people choose not to understand your issues. their experience, orientation may not have been your orientation. So finding respect for taking the time to share why it's important, both verbal and written communication. I use all means because it's that important, because you can tell someone something, okay, great, a lot of things are coming at you like a fire hose, but then being able to also send it to them in writing so they can follow up with it, also critical. So as a woman, we are very pointed, meaning we're going to focus on whatever the issue is that we're talking about, the topic. We're going to prepare, and we're going to have a compelling argument that's from the standpoint of how it benefits individuals and family and community.
Absolutely. And those things are absolutely at the core of the things that are important to us. Our wonderful state has made strides in increasing female representation in government. What do you feel still needs to change to make politics more accessible and equitable for women?
So I struggle with this question often. I do wonder how we get more women involved, and I do believe that it's the financial pieces that lock a lot of women out. Time, very critical when we are responsible for our household, the well-being. We do have a couple of members within the last decade, and I'm thinking of Senator Brittany Timberlake, who came in while they were pregnant and having children while in the legislature, but plus working a full-time job.
Right.
No easy task at all. So making sure that we have maternity leaves that support our women in the legislature. When Senator Winona Littman first came in, there was no women's bathroom. Right.
Wow.
So creating spaces for us to thrive in the legislature are all things we need to think about. Having more women as chief of staff who work in these spaces critical, because if you see it, if you're around it, you can grow in different spaces, not just being an elected, but how do you support the policy changes and how do you work within the ethos of change and next to the proximity of power to be that voice. So I think all of those things matter, and we have to be intentional with helping women get elected and encouraging them. So for me, my kids were 10 and 11 when I first ran for office. The great thing was I had a family support system. Someone was dropping off meals, both our parents, my husband and my parents. We had friends who would pick them up from sporting activities because I didn't want that to impact their day, making sure someone was cheering them up. But I was hustling back to get to a basketball game or get to a dance recital. Don't know how I made it through, but somehow by the grace of God.
By the grace of God, you did it.
I did it, but not without tremendous support. And that's what we have to offer to women to serve in these spaces.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to young women who are interested in pursuing a career in public service?
I would say definitely do it. There's many ways to engage. Please don't think just being a state worker or a municipal worker is the only way to get engaged. There are so many points of entry that we don't talk about, working on or serving on boards and commissions, appointed boards and commissions, all critical. I have legislation to increase the number of women on these boards and commissions because we're just not there. And it's important, and you're talking about over 500 boards and commissions on the state level. So don't overthink it. We feel like we're too busy. Get started somewhere. I got started on my local planning board. Learn how to read architectural plans, which is still a skill that I use today in my professional work as I'm building adults with disability homes. When I build healthcare facilities for psychiatric services, those skills are transferable. Learning diplomacy, all transferable skills, financial acumen, or managing an entity, all transferable skills. So don't overthink it. Don't think you don't have time. If you can't do the board that meets 5 days a week, try the one that meets once a month. So it works for you.
Can you tell me about a mentor or role model who influenced your political journey and how they shaped your leadership style?
So I'm fortunate. My godmother served as the assembly person before me, Elise
Awesome.
Evans. When she wanted to retire, 34 years public service, health challenges, she wanted me to run for office because she wanted someone to have a heart for the people, and that was important. And I agree with her 110%. You don't run for office because you want status.
Correct.
If you're gonna do the work, you're putting the work in. This is not a no-show opportunity, right? You have to bring your full self, your full mind. I studied more for the legislature than I had to study for college. Because you're learning very
Right.
intense subject matter that may be new to you to vote on and have an opinion that can change a systemic issue. She really was a big part of the influence of showing me how to do it with compassion and put people first. So transferring again my professional skill and adding my community love together as a passion to represent my community has been one of the greatest honors of my life, one of the greatest honors.
Love it. What and or who keeps you motivated to do this work?
So it really is people. Between my seniors and between my young people, every time I go to a school and young people can share with me what's important to them today, turn off CNN, talk to a young person. They will have you encouraged and motivated about the future. They are bright, brilliant young minds who care about our climate, who care about health status, who care about their families earning enough so that they can spend time with them. Right? To my seniors who paid it forward, who fought in the civil rights movement, who achieved home ownership, who are trying to make sure that they're not in concrete houses and not enjoying the community and safe spaces, who can afford to buy fresh produce.
Right.
Those are the folks that I fight for. To my disabled community who want to live their best life as independently as possible. We want to make that happen for them. And then to people who just want to thrive, to my business owners who want to work in their own state without being discouraged or having their diversity be a negative detractor from them being able to work in their home state. Those are the things that we fight for: the freedom to live as you choose to live and the freedom to thrive in all spaces.
And lastly, as you leave us and transition into your next phase of life that I know you're going to enjoy, is there anything, any final little message that you would want to leave with the next generation of legislators as they come forward and come into being someone like you?
To my next legislators, I say find your passion, work, serve, remember who you are, know your why, right? Because when you show up, you got to know your why. A lot's going to come after you. Come after you, come to you. You need to know your why, what you're fighting for, and it's your job to carry the baton forward. Everyone has a leg in the race. Everyone has a leg in the race. So if everyone do their part, run their mile, we'll be further along.
I love it. Assemblywoman Sumter, thank you for joining us on our Women's
you.
History Month podcast. We appreciate you for taking the time, and we appreciate you for all your work. We appreciate you for the time that you have given to the state of New Jersey and the time that you always cut out for Kane. I appreciate you. The Office of Government Affairs at Kane appreciates you. So thank you.
Thank you. All love, because Cougars climb higher.
Cougars climb higher.